Mike Scruggs on behalf of the Black Man Think Tank. I want to welcome you into our Candidates Forum. We've been having a wonderful time to have a chance to speak to a number of our candidates that are running for City Council this year. So at this juncture, I want to now allow you to introduce yourself as we get started.
Yeah, my name is Steve Goodin. I live in the Clifton neighborhood. Before that, for many years, I lived either downtown or in North Side. I served on City Council from 2020 to the very early part of 2022. I'm an attorney by trade, and I'm really concerned about what's going on in the city right now, and decided to throw my hat in the ring again. I'm also part of the Charter Party, with Lakita Cole and Don Johnson and a couple other folks that I know you've spoken to earlier in the podcast. So thank you very much for the opportunity to talk with you.
Nope, thank you once again. So we'll jump right into it. So starting off, let me ask this question. So what is your strategy to ensure that the public and private investments don't just reach downtown, but they are able to also help uplift neighborhoods such as the Avondale, such as the Bond Hill, such as the West End?
Well, you're speaking to something that's really close to my heart because, and something that I'm taking a lot of flack for in my world. I mean, so, I'm an attorney who spends a lot of my time working in economic development. My office is downtown. I've got a lot of clients downtown. But I've also been involved in community councils, and I served on city council. And I don't think there's any question that we are putting too many of our resources into the downtown area. And there's no way to talk about without naming names. 3CDC, which has done some great things and done some not so great things, but they are one of the biggest property owners the city's ever seen, with over $3 billion of assets that they control. And I think it was an eye-opener to a lot of people recently when we had this uptick in violent crime downtown, some of it real, some of it perception, but whatever it was, it drove the city to set aside some mandatory overtime. And a lot of that mandatory overtime, we know as a fact, was dedicated not to people, not to neighborhoods like the West End that really did have gun issues, or Avondale where there were gun issues. It went to buildings in over the Rhine and downtown that 3CDC managed. And even this last chunk of money that went out, this $4 million, 850 of it went to the ambassador program for 3CDC. So we know we have to do more, and we know we have to be intentional there. So we absolutely have to make sure that there are the CDCs, the nonprofit development corporations which are popping up around town, the TIF districts. We need to make sure that money is spread out throughout the city, because a lot of neighborhoods are not getting the opportunity they need. And we also need to make sure that we're fixing our roads in all the neighborhoods, because we have seen clear instances where certain neighborhoods get favorable treatment on road repair. Nothing is more demoralizing to a neighborhood to be driving around on bad roads. And look, I drive through Avondale every day, and I know what we're talking about there. So all I can tell you is that when budget time comes every July, that's where the fight is. I always tell my kids, your priorities are stated in your budget, and the battle there is going to be on the budget every year to make sure that the money is invested in places where people actually live, rather than just in downtown and over the Rhine. What they've done, we have a great downtown, we have to take care of it, but that's not the city, and that's not where the vast majority of people live in these other 51 neighborhoods.
And so you spoke on violence, and of course that's a major topic in our city currently, as well as across the country. And so what do you see as being some of the root causes that drive the violence in our neighborhood, and then what is your plan to address them? I guess you can speak also to what you have already been doing.
Well, I can tell you, look, I began my career as a lawyer, as a Hamilton County prosecutor in the felony division, and then a few years after that became a public defender and ended up serving on the Public Defender Commission for 10 years. So I've seen the criminal justice system from both sides. And I can tell you, I think the number one issue, I guess I shouldn't say number one issue, but I would say there's two big underlying causes in my view. Number one, you just have poverty, and the way that poverty is kind of concentrated in certain neighborhoods in Cincinnati. There's a study that just came out recently, I think it was U.S. News and World Report, we're the 8th most segregated city in the country till this day. You travel around to other cities and you see it, you feel it in the restaurants here, even of all things. There's certain restaurants, very trendy ones, nice ones down over the Rhine, where they're either all black or all white. That's unusual. Go to Chicago and Atlanta, that's not how they live. It's a different world. So we have to look at that. But I think the number one underlying cause of what we've seen in the last year or so really is mental health driven. And it really is, it's about, and I'm a single father of a 13-year-old boy, and I can tell you that the number one thing we talk about is in terms of mental health in our household is emotional regulation. That's a true challenge for any young man growing up. It's a challenge for me at 55 sometimes. But what kind of haunts me, when I was on council, there were 4 murders in Grant Park in the course of a 6-week period back in 2021, all related to a fight over a girl at a basketball game. And the police officers that I'm friends with and know, they tell me that most of the shootings we're seeing, they're not drug related, they're not gang related, they're not organized. They are things that in my generation would have been a fist fight, but everyone happens to have a gun here. So we have to get into a thing where we're a place where we are really trying to reach young men about being, I guess, vulnerable about their mental health and acknowledging the fact that we're, whether it be our culture as a whole, and I don't mean white culture, black culture, I just mean the whole culture has become angry now. I mean, from DC down, it's an angry country. And we just have to find a way to reach people intentionally on the mental health piece, because this isn't a deal, this isn't like the 80s where we're like, God, we have these gangs, we're going to crack down on the gangs, or we have the drug trade, we have to address the drug trade. This is unique, and that's one of the reasons I think people at the city and at state level have had such a hard time getting their hands around it. There's just so much anger, and that's what we have to find. We have to find a way, working with CPS, I think, to get mental health services available to people at a very young age, and to identify and particularly work with young men across the board, because that is the biggest challenge. People sit on their cell phones all day from a young age, and they're fed anger and they're fed outrage, whether it be on social media or elsewhere, and we're not doing enough either at home or with mental health to counteract that, and we're seeing that in the violence we have now. That's my personal opinion.
And so you spoke to the, I guess, the touch of the larger government. So what we see from our national government reaching down to our local entities, and even just the threat, I'll call it, of sending in National Guards to cities, et cetera. So one of the things that we see now, agencies such as ICE are seeking cooperation from local police in order to help in some of their endeavors. So what is your position regarding that cooperation with ICE and how that may erode Black trust erode trust, in our Black communities, and how you perceive protecting those civil rights that are kind of being inferred upon?
Well, that is absolutely like the question of the moment, I believe, for cities particularly. And look, I know people who love Donald Trump, and I know people like me who never supported Donald Trump. But I think we can all agree that the Trump administration has zero helpful things to say for urban areas and for cities. That's an area where even prior Republican administrations at least would have a program. I mean, here the program is threats of the National Guard, threats of other military agencies, and ICE. And it's wrong, and I can guarantee you this, and I've said this repeatedly, that if there were ever an effort to bring the National Guard into Cincinnati, that's something that we would be in court fighting tooth and nail. I look at what's happened in Los Angeles, where they were successful somewhat pushing back against the Trump administration sending in the military. Unfortunately, it looks like something similar is going on either in Portland or Seattle or both. I can't recall, in the Pacific Northwest. So legally, we have to stand our ground. I mean, that's something that is a serious constitutional question that, we're doing that for our kids and our grandkids to make sure we still have a country that's worth living in, where the federal and state governments are respecting each other. But in terms of ICE, I mean, right now, I mean, I think we're treading a very fine line, and I think it's a good one here locally, where generally, if there is actually somebody who is undocumented but actually does have a criminal history or some sort of criminal connection, I do believe from what I understand, there's been limited cooperation there, and I do think that's appropriate. But the idea of just going out there and rounding people up, was a terrible thing. And we've seen very little of it locally, as I understand it, but there's still a lot of fear. I just know, as a candidate out campaigning, and this was a sad testimony to where we are right now, is over in Price Hill and West and East Price Hill. There are several Catholic churches that are now, if not majority, people of Hispanic descent close. There's a large Hispanic, undocumented and documented population in that part of town. Again, the segregation that they've gathered there. And a lot of the churches there, the Catholic church festivals that would happen every summer, didn't happen this summer because the people were afraid to come out because of ICE. So, typically if you're a city council candidate, you're going to go to St. Williams or Lady of Lords and pass out your stuff and shake hands. Festivals didn't happen this year because of the Hispanic members were afraid to come out. So that is a sad testimony to where we are, and that's something, again, I don't think our local media has paid enough attention to. So, in terms of, if we really do have people who are here illegally who have committed crimes, those are the folks that even under the Obama administration would get deported. That's why we have deportation processes. But using ICE to go after and using local law enforcement to go after otherwise, law-abiding people, that's again something as a matter of policy and just basic morality we have to address and fight against.
And so, last question, and I'll framework it like this.
So I'm lawyering you, man.
Oh, no, you're fine. No, you're fine.
I talk for a living. I'm sorry.
So I do the same.
I
so
you do. I know you do.
And so one of the things and part of the reason why we created this this environment and this setup is because we don't believe any vote is free.
That's right.
And so we believe every vote is earned. And so my last question that I'll pose to you is, why should Black Cincinnatians vote for you? What does that track record look like for the African American community, and why should we go out to the polls on your behalf?
Well, I can tell you this is because I listen. Okay, I am obviously of European descent. I am a Caucasian. I can't sit here and again I'm raising a son, but he looks like me. But to the extent that I know anything in life or have learned anything in life, it has been from listening to the experiences of others. I cannot pretend to have walked in anybody else's shoes. But you can learn things if you listen, and you can be sensitive to things if you listen. And again, I have represented very wealthy individuals in my law practice. I have represented people who are indigent that I've been appointed to represent in serious crimes, including death penalty cases. And I've sat in a county jail with people and their families and listened to people in the worst situation. And I grew up in a very diverse environment with friends of all different races. I know my friends growing up, if they looked like you, they had all had, not all, but a lot of them had bad experiences with police officers, and I witnessed that. And I witnessed things were different with me. So I guess all I can say is I can bring some sensitivity of things that I've seen and learned and experienced. I don't have I can't say it's my lived experience in every case, but I've tried to learn and I've tried to listen over the years, and I try to keep that part of my brain open and that kind of basic empathy for what other people are going through when I look at policy decisions. That's really it. I could give you a long list of policy decisions or positions. Everyone's got them. But I think really more than anything, it's an attitude and an openness to admitting you're wrong and to trying to listen to what other people are dealing with.
Well, we definitely appreciate your honesty and your willingness to join us in this conversation with all of your fellow candidates that are running this year. So we just want to encourage everybody to go out and vote. Thank you once again, sir, for your time. We appreciate it.
Honored and humbled to be here. Thank you. Take care.
You as well.